I wanted to go through another example of a sale of a differential asset. So let's go ahead and assume that on January 1st, 2020, Big acquired 70% of Little. At the time of acquisition, Little had equipment with a 5-year life, which was undervalued by $40,000. The equipment had accumulated depreciation of $50,000. So we'll go ahead and roll a separate accumulated depreciation question into this as well. And the question says, prepare elimination entries associated with this equipment for each year from 2020 through the year of sale in each of the separate cases below. Note that no information is given for Little's equity, income, or anything else. All values not specifically related to this equipment will simply be listed as X's, because again, I want to focus on the equipment aspect of this. Okay, and actually first, before I even go any further, the 70% ownership is pretty much irrelevant, because whether we own 51% or 100%, the recording of the differential asset is the same, the depreciation or amortization of the differential asset is the same, and the disposal of the differential asset is the same. The only place the 70% would become relevant would be in getting the investment income or the income to the non-controlling interest. And quite honestly, since I'm going to focus only on the equipment itself, the 70% is pretty much irrelevant to this question. Okay, so first, case 1. Let's assume that on January 1st, 23, so 3 years after acquisition, the equipment was sold to an outside party at a loss of $20,000. And again, the amount of the loss is irrelevant to the question or to how we answer the question. I put it in there because if I don't put it in there, somebody's going to ask, what was the gain or loss on sale? So anyway, let's go ahead and do the elimination entries first for 2020. And again, we start with our S entry. And I don't have any values for anything other than the equipment, so I'll simply write Little equity. Again, that will be common stock, retained earnings, and all those other things. Now the equipment is undervalued by $40,000. There are 2 ways we could do this with the separate accumulated depreciation account. One way is to go ahead and increase the equipment by $40,000, and again, that would be against the investment for 70% of that, and the non-controlling interest for the other 30% of that. And then we do a separate entry to remove the accumulated depreciation. So we have accumulated depreciation of $50,000. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that and close that against the equipment account. Now, obviously, so this is one way to do it. Obviously, those 2 entries could be netted together. You could say, look, what I want to do is I need to eliminate Little's equity. I want to eliminate the accumulated depreciation. Now, I know that equipment has to be written up by $40,000. It's undervalued by $40,000. I've gotten rid of $50,000 of contra asset, which means I need to get rid of $10,000 of the asset itself. Okay, again, those 2 presentations net out to the same thing. Either presentation is just, one presentation is just as good as another. Personally, I don't care which one we do. So let's go ahead and do the alternate presentation. Okay, so there's our S entry for 2020, and we need to go ahead and record our amortization. And again, we're using a separate accumulated depreciation account, so that $40,000 of undervalued equipment is going to be written off $8,000 per year, and we're going to use accumulated depreciation. 2021, we'll go through the same drill, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste. The only difference is, think of how accumulated depreciation is being carried forward from last year. Last year we debited accumulated depreciation for 50, credited it for 8, so we're carrying forward a $42,000 debit to accumulated depreciation. Okay, 2022, same drill. Again, I'll just copy and paste. If you look at what we did last year, we debited accumulated depreciation for 42, credited it for 8, so now we're carrying forward $34,000 of accumulated depreciation. And again, we take another year's worth of amortization. We get to 2023, and now the asset is being sold on this January 1st, 2023. So what do we have to do? Well, first, our S entry, again, we sort of bring up things up to date as where we were at the end of the previous year. Last year, we debited accumulated depreciation for 34, credited it for 8, so we're carrying forward 26. But now the asset is being sold on January 1st, 2023. That means we don't need to record any depreciation for 2023 because, as we all know, if you sell an asset the first day of the year, you don't record any depreciation for that year. However, the asset is, we're now at the end of the year, the asset is no longer in our possession, and so this thing here can't be on the balance sheet. The asset is gone, the accumulated depreciation are gone. Basically, that remaining unamortized differential, there's still a remaining unamortized differential of $16,000. Net those two things together, $26,000 debit, $10,000 credit. That remaining $16,000 unamortized differential is going to need to be written off, and that's going to either add to our loss on sale of the asset, or it's going to reduce the gain on sale of the asset. So we're going to go ahead and record a $16,000 adjustment to the loss on sale, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of this stuff that we just created in that first S entry. So we're going to go ahead and debit equipment for $10,000 and credit accumulated depreciation for $26,000. To reinforce the idea of where the $16,000 came from, recall that there was a $40,000 differential associated with this equipment, and that $40,000 differential is being written off $8,000 per year over the course of 5 years. So 3 years have elapsed, 2020, 2021, and 2022, and so we've amortized 3 times 8, or $24,000 of that differential. The last $16,000 of that differential is not going to be written off via periodic depreciation. Instead, it's written off as an adjustment to the loss on sale.